A $1.5 trillion wall of debt is looming for U.S. commercial properties. Almost $1.5 trillion of U.S. commercial real estate debt comes due for repayment before the end of 2025. The big question facing those borrowers is who's going to lend to them. Refinancing risks are front and center for owners of properties from office buildings to stores and warehouses. Morgan Stanley analysts including James Egan wrote in a note this past week, "The maturity wall here is front-loaded. So are the associated risks." The investment bank estimates office and retail property valuations could fall as much as 40% from peak to trough, increasing the risk of defaults. Adding to the headache, small and regional banks, the biggest source of credit to the industry last year, have been rocked by deposit outflows following the demise of Silicon Valley Bank, raising concerns that will crimp their ability to provide finance to borrowers. These commercial real estate owners live in a different reality. I keep seeing empty properties since before the pandemic. These just stay there. Some without being sold and some without the price being reduced, thinking someone will eventually come and pay the outrageous price. And now that many are being converted to regular housing, they also want to either charge a lot or don't pay for the transformation, so again they rather hold it empty for years. And this is stuff from before the pandemic. So how does one short it? I honestly can't tell what this is going to mean for the future. The only impression I can make is that I should probably buy now in an already stupid, inflated, tight market, because someone is going to get bailed out again soon. And inflation is going to get even worse. And the most ridiculous thing is that there are these articles coming out that say real estate is so cheap right now, lol. Come buy. Unless you're making $300K a year. It's not cheap. Fed said they have infinite liquidity. We'll be fine. How much debt is due each year though? Like how much debt is due this year? In 2024? In 2026? In 2027? A lot of commercial loans have a balloon payment at the end of 5 years. That's refinanced under new interest rates. They are singling out this 5-year stretch for obvious reasons, but I'd be curious to see what the debt due in years prior to and just after this were for comparison. We better get some laws in place to prevent foreign investment into real estate, either directly or indirectly, before any of this blows up. I just learned today that out of the 800K homes in Las Vegas, 100K of them are fucking vacant. It's all been fake demand created by banks bag holding. This shit is a scam. I was shouting this back in 2021, guess it was a bit early. But hey, shit was bound to happen. 2008 via commercial properties. Can office towers be converted into condos? Because recovering some of your investment back is not as worst as going bankrupt. Fed will bail them out. Because of course that's what happens to the rich. Convert them into something useful, like low actually affordable housing. Right when I'm looking for a bigger place for my cabinet shop's expansion, haha. I will give you 3 guesses as to who will be paying for the bubble, and they all count. We are a $5 billion real estate fund in Asia. Looks like we will go Xmas shopping in NY and Chicago this dec. Merry Xmas corporate America. When the taxpayers eventually bail this out, we should seize these properties for housing. This is just hyper-exaggerated clickbait. If a mall in a mid-size city in Wisconsin fails and the CMBS defaults, so what? On paper there are losses. If a C office building in Northwest Jacksonville goes into receivership, so what? It's a natural culling of older out-of-demand properties that should be repurposed or demolished entirely. A lot of paper losses will occur. Some shareholders will lose money. Good real estate. AB locations. Will be fine. Research extend and pretend from '08 and '09. They will find a way to get through it. I would say good, except that I'm sure they'll find some way to make us, the working class, bail out the corporate landlords. Millennial here. Looks like my next home isn't going to be a house. My next home is going to be a motherfucking mall. Is it possible for them to just short themselves each other? They won't let it crash and prices will stay inflated. Something has to give, and it will be mostly shouldered by regular people. This allows more corporate buying of homes. You'll own nothing and like it. I'm finding it hard to care when both of my checks don't cover our rent and we scrounge to have a savings just so we can cover a month's rent, bills, and food should something happen to our jobs. This on top of the devaluation by rising interest rates and, even more importantly, only a 42 AVG occupancy rate in commercial buildings. It won't take much to push property owners over the edge, like the shockingly high penalties going into effect next year in NY for non-compliance of emission ordinances. I've heard estimates in the 60-70 range of buildings aren't even close to meeting those standards. The few anecdotal examples I've seen so far have all failed to meet them. It's 2023. Lots can change in 2 years. Dispensaries are buying up old bank buildings all over. My business landlord is mad at me because they attempted to raise our office lease this year. But we called their bluff and relocated to a smaller, cheaper office a few blocks away. Although it will suck for bank stocks. I sort of hope these landlords face a reckoning. Office buildings go bankrupt. Most of these commercial real estate landlords are horrible, requiring 50-page leases where they take no responsibility for anything other than the roof, outside walls. The cushiony drumps have the Saudis to bail them out. I can't wait. Let's bail them out because, ya know, Main Street and all. But students with loans? Nah. Not a big deal. These large buildings charge so much rent they can last years at low interest rates. If they can't, they get sold quickly, hence minor loss for banks, or they will possess and sell the property at a better time. Stop making it into big news. 2008 was way worse, over 20 trillion. The student loan repayment was the fear last year. We lived. James Egan wrote in a note this past week, the maturity wall here is front-loaded. So are the associated risks. What does front-loaded mean? Just imagine the CMBS pitfall related to this. End of 2025? Are you a long-term investor or something? Even surviving until the end of 2023 seems almost impossible. Lol. Surprise, surprise, surprise. This is a nothing burger. Bummer. Dude posting same thread in multiple subreddits. That doesn't sound like much. We're seeing a lot of owners who also have multifamily sell or refinance on those properties to pull out cash to help cover their office loans. Obviously won't save everyone, but it's helped cushion the blow a little bit. Oh, but wait. Then Fed backstops CMBS at par. Face with peeking eye. Fed will print more currency and Americans will deal with all-time high, record high CPI prints. Hope the 40 years of debt-fueled artificial prosperity was worth it. Still plenty of buyers waiting on the sideline. There has been a lot of inflation recently. If that debt wasn't a problem before, then it certainly won't be now. Didn't the government just give regional banks unlimited money? Let us all default and then use it for homeless housing.